14 years before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball, Springfield's own American Legion Post-21 baseball team made history by standing up to racism. Connecting Point producer Keith Clark sat down with author Richard Anderson and Post-21 team captain Tony King, now 98 years old, to discuss this important moment in Springfield history, an act of true brotherhood and an exemplary display of what it really means to be a teammate.
Bunny Taliaferro, Jackie Robinson, Rosa Parks, Dr. King, they all play a role in America's history with race relations. And I think of some with Bunny. I wonder how many bunnies are there out there whose heroics have not been recorded in book or in film. How many other stories have we lost? Certainly there are more than 4 major figures in America's history of race relation, or even 10. There must be hundreds, there must be thousands of everyday stories of ordinary people like Rosa Parks and Bunny Taliaferro doing extraordinary things. I think what makes Bunny's story special is that it comes so much earlier than all of the others. Historians have told me that the story of Bunny and Tony and the American Legion Post-21 team of 1934 is one of, if not the first, nonviolent civil rights protest of the 20th century. And they make this protest 13 years before anyone even heard of Jackie Robinson, and 20 some odd years before Rosa Parks, and of course 30 years before Dr. Martin Luther King. When I think of this story about Bunny and Tony King, I try to imagine what it must have been like. I mean, the year was 1934, right? Racism was rampant in the South. Segregation was a large part of the culture. Jim Crow laws were in full effect. It was a very, very terrible time in our country's history.
Things were so different in them days. I can remember down in Gastonia, walking down the street, these 2 colored guys are walking towards me. They jumped out in the road. They couldn't pass me on the sidewalk because they were black and I was white. And I never forgot that. Black people, athletes or anyone, they were quiet, you know? They were always in the background because they were black. But he was a hell of a hitter. He was a great pitcher. Because at Cathedral, Mooney Giovanelli was a great pitcher for trade school. Well, we could beat Mooney, but we could never beat Bunny. He was fast. He was a good hitter, too.
I get the impression that the players on the team were all all-stars, and they came from different schools all throughout, not just Springfield, but West Springfield. So they knew each other since they were very young. They played with each other in places like Van Horn Park. They played against each other when they played for the high school teams that they went to.
We had a very good team, a strong team, because we could pick from every high school. I lived in West Springfield, down by Gilmore and Barker. I pumped a bicycle with a kid on the handlebars up the Blunt Park, up State Street, that hill and everything, just to try out for the ball team, because everybody wanted to play with the American Legion. And
I think what united them then was they weren't just a bunch of all-stars playing on a team. They were a team in a way that is, players on teams are not teams today. It's a different sense of what it meant to be a member of a team. And this is the idea that there's something more important, there's something more that goes beyond just the field. And it has to do with the way that we understand and feel about each other. And that feel is a very important word because it has to do with affection and love. And maybe that's not a word that's usually associated with team sports, but these kids loved each other in a very special way. When they were denied entry to the hotel, or when Bunny was not allowed to stay in the hotel in Gastonia because he was black, the coach says to the hotel manager, Bunny is a member of the team. Where the team goes, Bunny's going. And okay, Bunny gets to stay in the hotel under very different conditions than the other players. But that message is repeated when the team players are given a choice. They can either play the tournament without Bunny, or they can withdraw from the tournament and go back to Springfield.
I never forgot, though, when we were in the hotel and they called Sid Harris up and wanted to see him down in the alley. So that was enough. They knew something would probably happen.
And they vote unanimously and without debate to go home. There's something here that there are words, there are attitudes, there are feelings, there are perceptions that are attached to the word team in 1934 that aren't so quite apparent today. It's an extraordinary story, and when you think that when Bunny stands up at that plate, when Tony stands up and says no, when the team goes back, they don't have the same support systems that Rosa Parks and Jackie Robinson and Dr. King had. Jackie Robinson, he had the Brooklyn Dodgers. He had Major League Baseball. They would move their spring training camp from Florida to Cuba to accommodate Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was not going to fail. Major League Baseball would work really hard to help him succeed. And of course he did in extraordinary ways.
I think today he probably would have played in the major leagues, you know. In them days, blacks, they didn't stand a chance. You know the biggest thing about Bunny? Being black, working in a factory. I think he put 5 kids through college. That would be remarkable for a white person. But for a black person to do it, I thought it was really something.
This, I think, is how, if I could speak today, or if Bunny was alive today, I think that he would much rather be measured by his and Sweet's ability to put 5 kids through school than hitting 6 home runs on 6 pitches